It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to jump in that gigantic, sharp, interactive board. I want to share my thoughts on Fujifilm buying Konica Minolta. I think the time is right. Fujifilm, get the shopping cart, go in that store where you find non-financial performing companies, throw Konica Minolta in the buggy, take them home and clean them up. What's going on between Fujifilm and Konica Minolta? You know, ladies and gentlemen, it was about a year ago that they set up that global procurement company, right? And I really believe that was all put in place by Masters Trust Bank, who has a pretty big stake in Fujifilm and a pretty big stake in Konica Minolta. And I'm thinking they're telling Fujifilm, go look under the hood at Konica Minolta. And I would tell Fujifilm, I think you looked long enough. It's time to put the non-performing financial company Konica Minolta in a buggy, take them home and clean them up. But why is things taking so long? Why does it seem like Fujifilm just kind of stalled? You know, about a year and a half ago, they were aggressive, going to sign up some dealers. We saw a couple of press releases where they did sign up some dealers, and then it kind of went quiet. And folks, I don't believe it's because Fujifilm can't sign up dealers. I believe it's because Fujifilm changed their strategy. This is my thinking. And sometimes, well, let me just show you this slide. Sometimes a mountain sits silent with non-action for a long damn time. And then, ladies and gentlemen, there's a damn volcano, and I believe Fujifilm is about ready to produce the volcano and disrupt the print industry by taking out Konica Minolta. It would be a great disruption. It would be a great thing for Fujifilm. And quite honestly, it'd be a great thing for Konica Minolta, because not performing financially since the year 2019 is getting pretty damn old, okay? And at the end of the day, it's really hard for anybody in this industry to take Konica Minolta serious. I mean, isn't it? Come on. I think about Konica Minolta and I think about their nonsensical press releases. I think about all the hype they put in the marketplace. And then that hype turns into reality. Whoop! You can see how the seesaw goes. The word salad, descriptions of what they're going to do. It's always about what they're gonna. We're gonna be a highly profitable company. We're gonna. When is Konica Minolta actually gonna do a press release about something they actually accomplish that was profitable, that makes sense? I've seen their U.S. CEO being interviewed talking about how they're gonna take covered all over the globe and all this nonsense. It's like, what in the hell? Okay? 2019. Total financial train wreck mess. A business built on hype. It was in the, middle of last year when Konica Minolta and Fujifilm came together in this joint venture. They named the joint venture early this year, January of 2025, Global Procurement Partners. Fujifilm's got 75%, Konica Minolta's got 25%. This really sets up, Fujifilm not only to take out Konica altogether, but to also use this Global Procurement Partners company to be the next consolidation of manufacturing. Because I don't believe that the Global Procurement Partners Corporation, this venture that Fujifilm and Konica set up, had anything to do with making each other's MFPs. It had to do with getting control of cost and procurement. I really believe it was Masters Trust Bank telling Fujifilm, I need you to, go look under the hood at Konica Minolta. Again, it's been a long time. It's time to act now, Fujifilm. I showed this slide when I showed Fujifilm's year-end numbers, that they hadn't lost money in 22 years. I could go back 22 years in their investor relations section of their website, and they only lost money 1 year. It was in the year FY 2010. It was the only year they lost money. Fujifilm is a well-positioned, structured, disciplined, and they do have respect for profitability. They are a player that could easily take out Konica Minolta. And they need to do it, right? Come on, folks. Think about what Fujifilm gets by taking out Konica Minolta. All those Konica Minolta dealers automatically the next day become Fujifilm dealers. The Konica Minolta direct operations, Fujifilm could leverage those direct operations in ways that would benefit Fujifilm and maybe a couple of mega dealers here or there. But there's a lot of things that Fujifilm can do by taking out Konica Minolta. And let's be honest, our industry needs consolidation. It needs it bad, right? You know, Fujifilm gets production and industrial print like nobody's business. They're really good at this. They show up dressed to play. You know, a lot of excitement, a lot of intellect and knowledge around that space. Fujifilm gets the camera business. Same thing. A lot of insight, a lot of knowledge. You know, when they show up at events, they show up dressed to play. I've shared their financials where I told you their camera business does like a 20% operating profit. They get this space, but you know what they don't get, in my opinion? They don't get business print. You know, for years, Xerox was their largest dealer, right? Which Xerox is the largest dealer in the world, selling a bunch of Fuji stuff. And folks, you know, Fujifilm, they need to capitalize on this business print. I get it, print's declining, print's going away in the business, but there's still billions of dollars being sold in print in businesses. And if an OEM would sell it the right way and not overspec and oversell, could put together the right partnerships around the globe to sell their print equipment, they could have a nice run and take all that profit they get from business print, because Fujifilm would actually get profit from it, okay? And they could feed their other businesses. The industrial graphics space, which is growing. Their camera business, which obviously does really well. But Fujifilm, in order for you to dominate in this office print business, the only way you're going to do that, in my opinion, is you got to take somebody out. You're never going to do it organically. It's just not going to happen. You need to take out Konica Minolta. You know, folks, when I looked at this Konica Minolta press release that ENX magazine published for them regarding this new dealer contract, which takes effect, by the way, July 1st, and it was disgusting to me. And I shared with you all the reason that Konica Minolta wants to have a 90-day out without cause is because, you know, it's great if you're going to liquidate or sell off the company, because the buyer might want to cancel some distribution at street level. And you know, that's why I was so upset that the retired BTA lawyer blessed the contract. And of course, you know, what do we see? One interview about that. Haven't heard a word since then. Well, everybody's supposed to sign this thing on July 1st. I wonder how many dealers are going to sign it. What's going on with that contract? Let's look at some numbers, because the numbers really tell a great story of why these two should come together. The business innovation unit over there at Fujifilm, that's their print business, their graphics print business, all their print stuff, and their IT business. $8.3 billion was the annual revenue for FY 2024. If you look at Konica Minolta, digital workplace, professional print, all their print business, their IT, production, industrial, everything all lumped together, $6.1 billion. So Fujifilm is a little over $2 billion bigger than Konica Minolta in the print space, and their entire portfolio, if you will, going to SMBs. And folks, here's the real story. You know, Konica Minolta, $6.1 billion, and their operating profit was 0.09%, ridiculously, disgustingly low, $5.5 million, against Fujifilm, 6.2% on the $8.3 billion, over $500 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Fujifilm produced 100 times the profit of Konica Minolta in FY 2024 in their print business, which is for Fujifilm, business solutions, their IT stuff, office solutions, their office print stuff, graphics communication, their industrial and graphics print stuff. But at the end of the day, then how to make money? They produced $515.9 million, 6.2%. Our friends at Konica Minolta, a measly 0.09%, $5.5 million. It's ridiculous. If you look at the professional print business over there at Konica Minolta, they did $1.9 billion for FY 2024. If you look at the graphics communication business for Fujifilm, $2.4 billion. It'd be nice to add some revenue to the graphics communication side over there at Fujifilm. Here's one that's really interesting. Office solutions. That office print business for Fujifilm for FY 2024, $3.6 billion. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Office for Konica Minolta, which is their office print, $3.6 billion. Same amount of revenue. Fujifilm would double their office print revenue overnight by taking out Konica Minolta. As far as this DWDX over there at Konica Minolta, their IT business, you know, folks, the whole year number of $609 million. It's a ridiculously low number. Konica Minolta's been in this forever, right? Buying up all covered, all that crap they bought up underneath all covered. Obviously, they can't really grow that number anything substantially. Our friends over at Fujifilm Business Solutions, that's their IT type business, $2.3 billion. So I think that Fujifilm would want to say, you know what, we could buy Konica Minolta, but we're not going to do IT the way Konica Minolta does. We're going to keep our IT business the way it is, and we'll offload all covered in all of Konica Minolta's IT business. That's really what I believe they would do. And folks, at the end of the day, I believe they got some options in doing it. Let's talk about Dex Imaging. You know, Dex Imaging, they did the big press release. You know, we're in IT now, Dex Tech. We know back in June of 2021, Dex Imaging gobbled up 10 Konica Minolta direct operations. And folks, you know, in that article, by the way, Dex Imaging described themselves as Konica Minolta's largest dealer in the United States. That was in June of 2021. But think about it. You know, what could Fujifilm do with Dex Imaging? They could meet with Dex Imaging and say, look, Dex, here's what we're going to do. We're going to offload all the U.S. direct operations that are left to you. And we're going to offload all covered to you. Because, you know, Dex Imaging, they want to get into the IT services, so why not buy all covered? And boy, if Fujifilm did that with Dex Imaging, wouldn't Dex Imaging owe Fujifilm something pretty big? Like being their complete mainline vendor for all of Dex Imaging? I think that's what Fujifilm would get out of that, and I'm pretty sure that the Doyles would probably appreciate that kind of an opportunity. I'm not saying that Dex Imaging and Dex Tech should be, you know, gobbling up all cover and doing anything with it. I think that would probably be a disaster. But, you know, you're not going to convince them of that. They already want to get into IT, so I think it makes a lot of sense for Fujifilm to take advantage of that right now. There's another big dealer out there, Pacific Office Automation. I want to bring these up because in 2024, January, at a big POA meeting, an executive at Konica Minolta stood on stage at that meeting and told the whole audience and the world, I guess, that POA was Konica Minolta's largest dealer in the world. And so I'm thinking to myself, Dex Imaging used to be, but then POA became it. We all know there's been a lot of drama going on at POA. I've done some episodes on that, but what could Fujifilm do regarding POA? I mean, folks, at the end of the day, something's probably going to change at POA, I would think, right? There's a lot of things that Fujifilm can do by acquiring Konica Minolta. Fujifilm would change the game and disrupt the marketplace by acquiring Konica Minolta. The math makes sense. Fujifilm can afford it. Konica Minolta, does anybody really believe that FY 2025 is going to be any different than FY 2024 or any of the other years? Going back to 2019, I sure as hell don't. You know, Konica Minolta, they're eliminating some of their things. You know, here's some different slides I've shared in episodes. I don't need to go through all this. I believe they got a flawed strategy. I listened to the CEO of U.S. Marketplace. I didn't listen to him. I went through his presentation that he gave in the desert, and I titled that presentation of mine, Did He Get Sunstroke? As I read through some of the nonsense. You know, when they share their financials, they talk about all the stuff they're divesting of and getting rid of. That's not about growth. That's about cleaning things up. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that Konica Minolta needs to clean things up. I just don't believe that they have the ability to clean them up themselves. They need to be taken out. The time to get Konica Minolta's now, or watch someone else do it. Fujifilm, you can do this. There's no doubt about it. You could be the one that gobbles them up. You could be the one that causes that disruption, that earthquake in the industry. Or that volcano, I should say, in the industry. Otherwise, somebody else is going to do it. Another player could be Kyocera, but I believe Kyocera wants to focus on inkjet technology. I'm hoping so anyway. I'm hoping Kyocera brings inkjet to the business world. But Fujifilm, now's the time. If you wait much longer, there won't be anything left, in my opinion. Just some things to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.